open shortly after our final couple has performed, and you don't have too much longer to wait. Well done, Tess.
Flick, it's so nice to have you with us this week. I see you've got a Strictly tan.
I knew you were going to say that. No, I promise you, I've not been in the tanning booth. I'm back from holiday, and I'm excited because it appears I've come back just in time for the Strictly scandals to really kick off.
Well, there has been a lot of controversy over the weekend. In case anyone missed it, Eagle Eye fans spotted Wynne Evans, for want of a better word, groping Katya around the stomach waist area during Saturday night's show. And then all hell broke loose. Tell me more.
Yeah, well then, just after that, there was that really awkward moment when he went for a high five and she just completely aired him and then grimaced at the camera.
Yes.
And I just love always with Strictly, the fans do our jobs for us, because immediately it went absolutely wild on Twitter, didn't it? Across all social media, the clips, and everyone was agog, weren't they?
No one can even blame the press in this situation, as you know, potentially BBC bosses might like to do. This is all the fans taking to social media, basically saying what they saw, and they're thinking, what's going on? There's some kind of backstage drama. Has he overstepped? But then, you know, very quickly we had them both taking to social media, posting a video saying, oh, it was a joke gone wrong. And then Katya did another video yesterday.
Yeah.
It all feels a bit like they're protesting too much.
Yeah, okay, well I can tell you what's really gone on here.
Great.
So, we've been busy speaking to all of our sources behind the scenes on Strictly, and there is more to this than meets the eye.
Okay.
So, both of them have been wrapped over the knuckles for this joke.
By bosses.
By bosses.
Well, which is the joke? I mean, I don't think groping is particularly funny. So was that the joke?
So, I agree with you. It's very... In that moment, she looked genuinely uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, as women, we've been there when someone feels a little bit too close. But certainly in that moment, I think she looked genuinely uncomfortable. They are both definitely leaning into this joke situation. And that's what BBC bosses have leapt on. Because they're saying, Wynne doesn't necessarily know any better, but Katya has been on that show for absolutely years.
Yeah.
And Katya should know better.
So the BBC bosses are blaming Katya?
So they've said to both of them, what are you doing? Because the show, in the state that it is, any kind of scandal, particularly one to do with friction, tension, be it sexual or otherwise, between a celeb and pro, right now is obviously the completely thing that they want to avoid, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and also they've got no one to blame but Wynne and Katya because it happened on live TV. So basically they have been crisis talks since it happened on Saturday Night Behind the Scenes.
Exactly.
Amazing.
As we know, it's been this summer of scandal for Strictly. So, you know, Graziano Di Prima, Giovanni Felice, and just about they were starting to see these green shoots of recovery, right? The only thing that was really going on was Pete and Jovita, which we must come on to in a minute. And now all of a sudden again, there's another scandal, and they're just like, if you were joking, guys, why would you do that?
Absolutely clear that this whole incident with the hand and the high five on Saturday night, it was an inside joke between Wynne and I. Was it a silly joke? Yes. Was it a bad joke? Yes.
We have also spoken to people close to Wynne, and I think there's a number of things going on here that need to be considered. So, what they're saying to us is Wynne is, I guess what you'd call of his time. He's like a 50-something male. He does a sexy joke. He's banter and that kind of thing.
So you're saying he's a little bit old-fashioned. He's a bit like dad joke central, but maybe isn't kind of up to date on what's PC and what isn't.
Yes.
Right.
So that's thing to consider number one. Thing to consider number two is people that have worked with Wynne have sort of said to us, like, he's completely harmless. Like, once you know that this is just his vibe, it's the dad jokes, you're never going to take anything that he says seriously. The next thing to consider is that Katya doesn't necessarily mind being involved in the scandals on Strictly.
She's been involved in a lot of scandals on Strictly, yeah.
So she's a seasoned pro at dealing with the scandals on Strictly. So, you know, obviously this is harking way back to the Sean Walsh kiss. Do you remember that?
She had to do an apology for that on It Takes Two at the time, back in, I think it was 2018, was it 2018, 2017?
Yeah.
So the apologies are racking up now.
Yeah, and then again, do you remember that time at the end of the dance when she was with Adam Peaty, where it looked like they kissed.
Yes.
And then he ended up splitting up with his girlfriend over it.
So did she apologise for that at the time?
I think they did on social media. It wasn't
Okay.
necessarily an It Takes Two situation. But the point is, there's all of these things going on at once within this bubble of Strictly right now being this boiling pot of anything that goes wrong, bosses are furious about because they want it to be this lovely family show. And right now, it doesn't seem like it is that, because just as they've managed to get rid of the Graziano and Giovanni situation, there was the Pete and Jovita situation. And then now there's the Wynne and Katya situation. And when are we ever going to talk about the dancing?
But I think that's the whole thing about Strictly. I think that even though all they want us to talk about is the dancing, there's always so much other stuff going on. And I mean, I think the Auditorium, I think that it's been a disaster waiting to happen for a while, because obviously it's live TV. You've got about 20 people all kind of squashed at the top. They're all vying for attention. I'm always getting distracted by which pro dancer has been kicked out, is trying to, like, you know, get like screen time, and they are all messing about up there. So, I mean, the fact that it's taken this long for something like that to happen is actually quite interesting. I wonder if, like, weeks to come, we're going to have like less people up there, that are going to be like, you know, hands behind their backs, like, you know, or where we can see them not doing anything that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah. They're going to need one of the Strictly chaperones in the Auditorium.
Exactly. Do you know what they should do? They should lean into it and have like bouncers, red robe,
They
the
should.
clipboard lady. You could be the lady with the clipboard and your fur coat.
Oh,
You'd
I'd
be
love
good at that, wouldn't you? Like, you have to be in line.
So I think we've just got this riddle at this moment where it's like only at this moment Wynne and Katya really know. Like, did Katya really feel uncomfortable with what happened? It looked like she did, but I know that they've now leapt on this inside joke situation, and certainly that's what BBC bosses right now are furious with them about.
That's the line, and they're sticking to it.
Yeah.
You can guarantee in their dance this weekend, there's not going to be any caressing of her stomach, though. They're probably
No.
going to keep their hands where we can see them. You know,
they'll do one of those separate dances. Well, another couple that know all about things not blowing over is Pete and Jovita.
So, yes, they have been linked romantically. Lots of people saying that it's more than just friends. Although I think that now they're veering back a little bit from that. They're saying, oh, you know, we're actually just really, really good friends. We're not romantically linked. I think Pete was really surprised that he wasn't safe straight away in the results show this weekend. I don't know, what do you think? Do you think they're at it?
So we've both met Pete, right?
Yes.
So I always think we're in a slightly privileged position when we talk about these celebrities, because we've interviewed them, we've seen them in the wild. And Pete's a flirt, right?
Yeah, he's a Lothario. That's his personality, definitely.
And Jovita's a beautiful woman. And yeah, I think they're at it.
Oh, do you? Okay, fair enough. I wasn't sure which way you were going to go then, Flick. Okay, so you think they're at it. Fine, interesting. Well, you know...
Hannah, I've got no solid proof of this. I've not been there in the bedroom with them.
No. Well, they're both single, and we know that this year, because of they've had the investigation this summer, it's all been quite dark, and I know that the BBC bosses quite wanted to bring it back to the light-hearted, let's go back to the curse of Strictly, the romantic, are they, aren't they, dialogue, because it's quite safe, especially when both parties are single. Mm-hmm. And we do like it when a couple could be romantically dating. You know, it got us talking all last year about Ellie Leach and Vito. Yeah. So I reckon that they're going to play into it, whether they are or aren't. I mean, yeah, you're right, they probably are. I mean, Pete does seem to get with a lot of girls.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a bit like, stop writing about me getting with girls, and bless him.
But, I mean, I don't know what you thought about his Craig Revel Horwood tattoo this week.
Yeah.
Did you feel like it was a bit gimmicky?
Awful. Like, awful. How long can a Strictly curse and gimmicks sustain you in Strictly?
He is obviously, that's his thing though, isn't it? Last week before it was like he was George of the Jungle, showing off his muscles. This week it's more muscles, more nudity. That's obviously going to be his shtick. Yeah. And, you know, he's going to go with it. But yeah, we'll see if anyone gets offended by it.
I got the ick though, I have to tell you.
Not a fan of tats.
No, do you know what? It wasn't necessarily the tat, it was the counting along constantly. Ick.
I got the ick when he, there week before when he was George of the Jungle and he kept talking about himself in the third person as George. I was like, okay, he did it about 5 times in one segment. I was like, okay, we get it.
I'm so glad I was on holiday.
Okay, now you've got some Chris Coulson controversy, which is quite shocking because he seems like such a nice guy. He's obviously the blind contestant, doing amazingly well.
Yeah, so genuinely shocking for a number of reasons. Lord Sugar, as we know,
what's he done now?
He loves to tweet. It's
Yes.
always on Twitter,
He needs to be kept away from Twitter or X.
5 million of people in Britain follow Lord Sugar on X, and last night he tweeted that he was sick of Strictly and their gimmick contestants, and that next they would have an AI mechanical robot. Now, Chris McCausland has said, oh, sorry that my blindness is such a gimmick for you.
Chris McCausland has assumed that Lord Sugar's talking about him.
I mean, what other contestants are there that have a gimmick?
Oh no.
It's awful, right?
I think that someone needs to keep Lord Sugar away from Twitter.
Yeah.
He's literally like a couple of tweets away from being cancelled.
I know, but honestly, and I love that Chris has hit back. And
Yeah.
that's brilliant, because that's the only way that you can get to these people is by telling them what you
Calling
think,
them out,
calling
yeah.
them out. But then I'm also a bit like, Lord Sugar, I'm pretty sure that the BBC pay for The Apprentice, your TV programme, which makes you a lot of money, and you're just busy slagging off one of their contestants.
The problem is that I think because he's obviously so rich and he sort of can take it or leave it. He obviously he doesn't respond to these like worried phone calls from BBC execs. You're not going to catch him doing an "I'm sorry" video, are you? He's just going to like ride it out and probably keep quiet for a bit and then make another silly mistake in a few months' time.
I just think there's being controversial and divisive, and there's just being like really bloody mean.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So, poor Chris. But I have to say, for me, Chris is the absolute signing of the series.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good. I mean, I think everyone's super, super impressed with him, but remember, he's a comic, so that's why I think he's so good at sort of
Yeah.
charming the audience, and he's like a people person.
Incredible at that. But also, the lifts.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't do those lifts. And, he's just an amazing guy. And for me, I'm just so glad that he's on the programme, and I know he was one of the less famous names on that lineup. But oh my God, Hannah, I have to say, speaking of amazing signings, completely different show. But Hannah, this weekend you revealed that Colleen Rooney was doing I'm a Celebrity.
Yes, it was a complete shock. When I got the tip, I was thinking, okay, it would be amazing if Colleen did I'm a Celebrity, but surely she won't. And then I got it confirmed. And I mean, look, we know that Strictly has struggled to get a lot of the women this year because of the ongoing investigation. And I think they actually signed less women than men. So, Strictly's losses have been I'm a Celeb over ITV's gain, haven't they? So,
I know. I mean, I guess that people that watch Strictly watch I'm a Celebrity. So we're straying into both camps
Yes.
here, guys. But oh my God.
good segue, I like it.
No, Hannah, oh my God, absolutely fell off my chair when I saw it.
The leaderboard. So,
Oh, yes.
I think so. We've got the leaderboard in front of us just so we can see notes. I mean, it's been causing a lot of tweets over the weekend, lots of reaction from the audience. Well, first of all, Tasha got really high scores this week. Rightly deserved, do you think?
Yeah. So look, I know that people, I think you're in two sides when you watch Strictly. You either just like watching the dances, you just enjoy it, and then there's the people that want a journey. And
I like a journey.
See, I don't care. I just want to see good dancers. And Tasha's obviously a great dancer. Actually, fact, her score with Aliash this weekend equals the record score for week 4.
Oh,
so she's
really?
already, up there with the Strictly
So she got
best
39,
dancers ever.
3 tens.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I can see her winning it, to be honest, unless someone else kind of swoops in. I mean,
Yeah.
we've also had some surprises, haven't we? Because Shane and Nancy, I thought he had a huge fan base. They scored 30, but they were in the bottom 2. He looked absolutely heartbroken, didn't he?
I know. Do you know the people who, when I interviewed all the celebrities before they went into the ballroom, he's the one that wants this the most.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Because he's no stranger to a reality show, is he? Obviously, won
No.
X Factor.
Yeah.
And he's been hugely successful on Corrie. He's now a really successful actor. So, what do you think that he really wants to sort of have this as his big comeback move?
I think so, yeah. And I mean, I know that he's had a really successful career in acting, but he is currently on a Channel 5 drama. So that's The Good Ship Murder. I don't know if you've watched it.
I don't know if you're trying to say that it's not good that he's on a Channel 5 drama. Are you being a little bit...
I mean, it's not Line of Duty, is it?
No, okay, I see your point. I haven't watched it, no, but I've heard positive things.
And I think just, you know, genuinely from the bottom of his heart, he'd love to win.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the career opportunities. And I don't know whether that's, sometimes on Strictly, I think you see people that, because they want it so badly, it almost slightly cripples what sort of, you know, they're crippled with nerves. And I'm sensing that a bit from him. He's seeming a bit stiff. It happened with Will Mellor as well. I don't know whether you remember. Mid-series, all of his critique from the judges was just try and relax and breathe into this. But, you know, you just become paralysed with, I want this so badly. And
actually,
I think that's what's happening.
I think you're right. I think as well, you forget as well how tense it is when you watch the results show. Like, I automatically feel quite anxious and nervous for them all.
Yeah.
And I thought Pete looked really nervous as well. But then you've also got people on the other end of the scale, like Nick and Luba. And I think Nick was probably quite happy to go. Do you think? I think he had fun, but I think that he's like, oh, I've been injured a lot, you know, I still get my pay packet.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah. He never really got started, did he?
No.
Bless him.
I thought he looked like a big baby this week, and it's like, I don't know, his rompish suit.
Yeah, it's baby grow.
Yeah, it was a baby grow.
I know. But you know, this is probably a controversial position to take. If I was on Strictly, I wouldn't be like busy changing tyres and risking injuring my shoulder.
Well, you mean, so that's what he was doing away from the show?
Yeah.
So you would just be focused on rehearsing?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be skiing at your weekends?
No.
I see your point. Okay. So
Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, yeah, I suppose. Although, who would have thought changing a tyre could be so dangerous?
I know.
He's meant to be like Mr. DIY.
I know. There's a lesson here somewhere.
Yeah, there is. Okay, well, I mean, there's also talk about some of the contestants being scored really highly.
Oh, yeah.
What do you
Tell
think?
me about this.
Well, a lot of people are saying, well, actually, Wynne and Jamie from EastEnders, a lot of people on Twitter are saying, well, they've just been getting like really like positive high marks. The judges clearly want them to go through to the end show. I mean, it does feel that Strictly is very nicey-nicey this year. Do you think?
Again, I think it just goes back to they don't want any drama. They definitely don't want any scandal. Obviously, in previous years, we've seen Shirley particularly criticised for her marks. You know, she's always said to be targeting women and that kind of thing, and I agree. I think they're playing it safe, but I think viewers don't want that. They don't necessarily need to be mean in what they say, but the judges are there to do a job, which is judge and score it as though it's a competition, right?
Yeah, and do you know, I really do think that, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd quite like Craig and Shirley to get their claws out again, because it just makes it a bit more interesting, doesn't it? So I'll be watching the judges to be a little bit more honest, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the Auditorium this weekend.
What was your favourite part? Who was your best dancer this week?
I think you might agree with me. I really like Paul.
Yes.
Because he was having a laugh this week.
I just really like that they finally let him do like a proper dance. And he looked so dashing in his top hat and tails, didn't he?
Oh, you've interviewed him, haven't you?
Yeah, he's
What do you think?
such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that he's got hundreds and millions of fans because of all of his football career and things, but, you know, he's really lived a life and he's owned it, and I think he deserves, not necessarily because of his talent, but I think he deserves this. And I'm glad that they let him have a proper dance, because often with these footballers particularly, but certainly the older men, sometimes they end up becoming the kind of comedy character. And I mean, Les Dennis last year, do you remember that awful sailing
Although
one?
he was older, he wasn't a former sportsman.
True. True. We'll give him that.
And it's nice as well, I think, for the old, you know, for the blokes and the sports fans. It's nice for them to tune in and be like, oh my God, it's just interesting. It keeps it like a bit fresh, doesn't it? To have not just former showbiz people and trained dancers.
Yeah.
So we hope that his journey continues.
I think so. Do you know why? Also, because we know that families tune in and watch Strictly, and I hear from all of my friends that when there's a footballer or someone that, you know, maybe the dad of the house or you know, the teenage son, it just brings everyone together.
Oh, well, that's a nice wholesome note. I think we'll end on that.
I know.
Thank you so much, Flick.
Thanks for having me.